Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Well, hello everyone, and I don't think it's using my right camera yet. Now, why isn't it doing that? But I hope you are doing well. I'm looking at the camera. Yeah, it is not wanting to do my iPhone camera. But we won't worry about that. You know, as again, if you all remember from, here we go. See how much better of a picture that is? Isn't that that's like crazy though. So like here's my, and it's not a bad webcam. It's like one of the more expensive ones, but look at the difference between the two pictures. You got this. Let me move it back here. See how like washed out and fuzzy it is? And then you've got this one. Now, I could be zoomed in a bit more, but I didn't have it set up right. So I hope you all are doing well. I'm missing the fact of not putting chat up on the screen because I need to find a widget for that because I'm not using Restream anymore. I still have the cough if I get too animated in my talking, unfortunately. You guys are still my guinea pigs, though, for commenting because, again, using a new streaming consolidator, I guess, is the word. I don't think I see comments from my Facebook profile. So if you're commenting there, I will not see it. I will see comments from my Facebook secretary page, YouTube, and Twitch. And you know, I prefer you all to go to YouTube if at all possible, particularly if you want me to see your comments. You're definitely going to need to go to YouTube. I don't like when my necklaces are all crooked. Hello, Connor. So speaking of YouTube, let's do the YouTube things. If you enjoy this content, see, look how it's over to the side, because let me move that. It's from when I used to have the chat box. Now it's not centered. There we go. Please subscribe to the channel. It really, really does help. I also invite everyone to follow me on Twitter. I'm Karen Ann Harlos there. Twitter's been a lot of fun ever since Muskie got in control. And at least, last, but certainly, there we go. But certainly not least, if you could support me on Patreon. If you enjoy this type of content, which is rather unusual, not saying you're enjoying it would be unusual, but perhaps it is. But I mean the type of content. Again, patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. We've got a big one to get into today.
That's what she said.
We definitely, excuse me. Ooh, that got me. Pardon me. Still can't get rid of this cough. We've got a long article to get into this time, but it is red meat for the libertarians for sure. I don't like the way this is like right in my face. I don't know. Here we go. I guess that's okay. And it's very apropos for today. Oh, before I forget, 2 other things. All super chats matter, and apparently my channel also has super thanks if you're watching this after the fact. I don't think I've ever gotten a super thanks. I'm not even sure what kind of notification I'd get for that. I'm assuming it would be in my YouTube dashboard. I'm going to need to check that. But I'm also assuming that I would get an email. Anyway, you know me, I'm so paranoid. I didn't check my teeth before this. No lipstick or anything on my teeth. You know how I am with that. But check out this long-ass article. So, apropos and red meat for the libertarians, Getting at the Roots of Inflation by Murray Rothbard. So, this is the first time I've seen an entire LP position paper in LP News. And that's what this is purportedly, is an entire position paper. And you can see that picture there. You got over on this side, that's, I believe, McBride, and then Rothbard. And I think that's Ed Crane. Get out my handy dandy little thing here. No, Manny Klossner. That's Manny Klossner on the other side, who was the Reason, editor of Reason at the time. Okay, just making sure. I got my little smartwatch alerts going on here. Okay. Woo, this is a big one we're going to tackle. Again.
That's what she said.
Says, this article is available from national headquarters as an LP position paper for public distribution. Yay. Now I'm wondering if all of the points he makes will still be true today and still relevant today. I imagine that they would, though there will be some, I'm sure, sheerly 1970s machinations that we can, modernize as we go through this. Ooh, I hit that. It says inflation and the popular, I'm definitely going to need my glasses. And the popular terminology may be defined as a persistent rise in the cost of living or in the level of consumer prices. Looking at it another way, inflation is a persistent decline in the value, the purchasing power in goods and services of the dollar or other currency unit. And I don't think people understand inflation very well. Inflation has been an acute social problem since at least the Roman Empire. Wasn't currency, though, pretty stagnant? Maybe that's the way to put it, during the Middle Ages. Can't claim to be, a Middle Ages economist person, but I thought I keep hitting that. I thought I read that somewhere. and has been a chronic and accelerating problem in the United States and most other countries since World War II. In the last few years, inflation has become frightening and double-digit. Remember all those, like, gas? Well, I know Carter wasn't president yet, and that happened during Carter's administration, that whole gas crisis with the awful inflation. But anyway, i.e., consumer prices have been rising at a rate of 10% or more per year. What is the cause of inflation? Many contrasting causal theories have been offered to explain both the current inflation and the numerous inflations in the past. Merchants, speculators, big business, aliens, unions, consumers, and back then, by aliens, I don't think they meant like, beam me up and do an anal probe type alien. I think they meant like undocumented immigrant, as we would say today. Unions, consumers, okay. These are some of the groups that have been offered up as scapegoats for public condemnation. And I do see you, JJ, as well. I'm sorry I didn't say hi. I'm so used to the comments being on screen. I've got to find a way to get them on screen. There's got to be some kind of add-on or something for eCam. It says, conservatives who blame unions for inflation strike a particularly bizarre note, since A, wages generally lag behind consumer prices during inflations, as they have done during current inflationary crisis, and B, there weren't any unions at all during the numerous inflations before the 20th century. In order to understand inflation and to make sense out of the chaotic welter of explanations offered, we must step back and analyze what a price is. Man, Murray's just getting to the root of the issue, isn't he? A price is the amount of, oh, check it out. Oh my God, there's a new feature up at the top there. I don't know where that comes from. Okay, so it's on YouTube. Somehow I got like a little like. It must be y'all hit like on the video. It is showing me live likes on, this is some interesting statistics. So it's showing me where my viewers are. So I got one on Twitter, mostly on Facebook, and one on Twitch. Interesting. Hit the like on the YouTubes, because I see it live when you do that. That is I see the other one. Whoever just did that, I see that. Anyway, that's a pretty cool feature I just noticed. The two major elements of the transaction then are money and goods, each of which are bid against each other, or rather are bid by buyers and sellers in arriving at the market price of any good. The more money bidding against goods, the higher the price, and vice versa. And hello, or hola, Nathan. In time-honored but correct cliche, prices are determined by supply and demand. If, for example, there's a particularly good corn crop this year, more corn will pour onto the market and the price of corn will fall. If, on the other hand, there is a poor crop, the supply of corn will drop and the price of corn will rise on the market. The price of a product tends to move inversely to its supply on the market. I think we all understand that. It is for that reason, for example, that TV sets, nobody calls them TV sets anymore. Remember the big ass console TVs we had in the 70s? Have fallen drastically in price, while the quality of the product has risen from the late 1940s to the present in spite of the sharp rise in general prices. The fall occurred because of the enormous expansion in the supply of TV sets as they reached a mass market during this period. Left alone, the general trend of the capitalist economy will be for a fall in prices as the supply of goods expands, TV sets being a striking example. Why then has the general trend over the centuries been an inflationary rise in prices? If we look at the collection of all goods and services, it should be clear for inflation to be caused by the supply side, there would have to be a steady and persistent fall, year after year and decade after decade in the production of the economy. Obviously, the facts have been happily just the reverse. Except for a few brief years during Depression, the supply of goods and services goes up year after year and decade after decade. If inflation then cannot be accounted for by cuts in the supply of goods, the cause must be from the demand side, that consumers have more and more money year after year to spend on goods and services, thereby bidding prices up and up. And if we check the facts, that's what we will find. Long-term inflations are accompanied by long-term increases in the supply of money. Briefer but acute bouts of violent and runaway inflation are fueled by rapid and accelerating increases of that supply. Boy, that is relevant today, isn't it? Suppose, for example, that the angel Gabriel, or Gabriel, what's it, Gabriel? No, Gabriel's girls. Gabriel, not L. Gabriel. I was watching too much Xena Warrior Princess. I had Gabrielle on the mind. Angel, I'm not kidding, I was just watching an episode right before the show, that the angel Gabriel descended upon us tonight and magically, overnight, doubled everyone's stock of money, of dollars, doubled everyone's bank account, money in purse or wallet or under the floorboards. What would happen the next morning? This is a good question for you UBI people who think that if you give everyone a certain amount of money each month, that the price of goods will stay the same. God, it's basic fucking economics. What would happen the next morning? Everyone would think themselves twice as well off, would bless the angel Gabriel, and rush out to spend the new money. But the stock of capital equipment, of resources and goods and services in the economy would not have changed. So while the supply of goods and services remained the same, the doubled supply of dollars would quickly bid all prices to roughly twice the height that they were before the bonanza. As a whole, we would be no better off, except that those who rushed out early in the morning to spend the cash would benefit, while those who waited until prices rose would lose out during this interim period. The culprit then is the money supply. Where does it come from and who controls it? In the free market economy, money is invariably a supply of a useful commodity, almost always a precious enunciation, such as gold. The supply of money is whatever gold has been dug out of the ground, and the currency unit is some unit of a weight of gold. Thus, in the 19th century, the dollar was roughly equivalent to, another name for, 1/20th of an ounce of gold. It is true that sudden gold discoveries can increase the supply of money and send prices upward. Or if you found the Philosopher's Stone, I suppose. Isn't that the thing? Isn't that an alchemist thing? The Philosopher's Stone? Am I wrong? Doesn't the Philosopher's Stone turn like stone and turn like, anything into gold? Let me look that up. I want to make sure I'm saying the right thing here. Yes, an unknown substance sought by alchemists for its supposed ability to transform base metals into precious ones, especially gold and silver. So I did have it right. Thought so. I wanted to make sure, though, because sometimes, I got things wrong sometimes. Okay, let me find where I left off. But generally, gold is a costly and rare metal, as well as a durable one, so that the annual production of gold is a small fraction of the accumulated stock in the economy. Generally, too, the free market increases the production of goods and services faster than new gold is mined, so that the trend of unhampered capitalism is a gently falling price level. So how come the persistent tendency through history of inflation? The answer is that governments persist in tinkering with the supply of money. Indeed, have managed to seize absolute control over the size of money. Governments are now able to increase the supply of money at will, now that dollars are no longer pieces of gold metal, but instead are pieces of paper issued by the central government and must be legal tender for all debts in the United States. It is the federal government's Federal Reserve System that prints the money. Governments, in short, print as much money as they want. And the nature of man and of power being what it is, they therefore tend to print as much as they can get away with. The reason is simple. Government is the operator of a giant counterfeiting operation. You know what? I think that needs to be tweeted. Give me 1 minute. Let's just get that out there. I need to open Twitter because that's a good Murray Rothbard quote right there. So Doge is now, when did Doge end up being on Twitter? Have you guys seen that up in the upper left-hand corner? Huh. So, the government is a giant counterfeiting, how did he word it? Outfit, or did he say operation? Oh, no, he said the government is the operator of a giant counterfeiting. So is the operator of a giant counterfeiting. And where did he put it? I don't like operator and operation, but that's the way he said it. So that's the way we'll do it. Murray Rothbard. Okay. We got that out into the Twitterverse. All right, back to where we were. Indeed, it has taken care to give itself a compulsory monopoly on the counterfeiting business. And if you had the absolute power to print as much money as you wanted to spend on yourself or your friends, or to lend it out to favored groups, you would do it too. Counterfeiting is simpler than taxation, and the governments have seen to it that the process is now so complex that only economists can understand what is going on. In the present day, legalized government counterfeiting is not nearly as crude as in the Revolutionary War, where massive printing of continental paper money led to runaway inflation, or in the Civil War when both North and South inflated rapidly through printing quote-unquote greenbacks. Nowadays, the government does its counterfeiting through the banking system by printing new bank deposits via its absolute control of the nation's banks. In practice, it does so partially by lowering reserve requirements and largely by the Federal Reserve's purchasing of assets. The way the system is structured, every time the Fed buys $1 billion worth of assets, nowadays government bonds, it generates rapidly a roughly $6 billion in checking deposit money and still more in savings deposits. Nice rocket if you can get it. Even as you read these lines, and whenever you read these lines, the Fed is busy pumping new reserves and therefore new money into the system, while assuring businesses, unions, those in the housing market, and consumers in general that it will furnish an adequate supply of money, will ease everyone's liquidity crunch, etc. Whatever the rationale, it means that the Fed is going to keep inflating the money supply and thereby accelerating the inflation menace. Part of that menace results from the fact that the government is not even as beneficent as the dubious angel Gabriel, for when it inflates money, it doesn't double everyone's coffers, but ladles the money out to itself and to favored political and economic groups, with the average person suffering from getting the new money last and sometimes never. The upshot will be an eventual acceleration of inflation to the runaway stage and the total collapse of the dollar and the monetary system. Now, I know libertarians forever have been called Chicken Little, saying, you know, obviously since the 70s here, and even before that the monetary system is going to collapse. I am rather surprised it hasn't already, but it is inevitable. Or there's going to be some big change. Things cannot go as they're going. Something has to give. I have a feeling it'll be something even worse. Like, total collapse would sound better than I think probably what they're going to come up with, but we'll see. It is, of course, no accident that all sorts of groups are blamed by one faction or another in government for inflation. For this diverts the attention of the public from the real culprit, white men. No, just joking. It's the patriarchy. Damn it, I knew it. Oh. That supposedly heroic fighter against inflation, the government itself. How to stop the disastrous inflation should now be crystal clear, though not so simple in practice. It is to stop the government from counterfeiting and increasing the money supply. In addition to the importance of educating the public to what's going on, one immediate way to do this would be to pass a law or a constitutional amendment forbidding the Fed from lowering reserve requirements or from buying new assets ever again. A more fundamental reform would be to eradicate all influence or control by the government over the supply of money. By, for example, abolishing the power of the federal government to print dollars, by abolishing the Federal Reserve System and the Fed. Okay. And by returning to the dollar as a definition of a weight of gold and forcing the government to disgorge, that's a word we don't use enough, the hoard of gold which it seized from the public during the Depression emergency of 1933 and has never relinquished. It is not enough to allow private citizens to own gold. Has now been done. There's a word missing there. We must also have the right to redeem our private property, the gold that was seized from us by the government in 1933 and never returned. These libertarian reforms would put an end to the menace of inflation. And while the subject is too complex to go into here, it would end recessions and depressions as well, for they are the result of previous inflationary booms and bank credit made possible by the counterfeiting activities of the federal government. Actually, that was pretty simple economics explanation, I think. And only libertarians would be like, oh, a podcast just reading dry economic policy. Like, boom, checka, wow, wow.
Boom, chicka, wow, wow.
Oh, okay. Well, we got through that page. And that's going to be it for this evening. I will not be streaming tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be fun, depending on how you define fun. I'm going to be secretary of my county affiliate at the same time I'm doing bylaws chair. Because, yeah, we scheduled it for the same night, and the bylaws committee vice chair will not be there. But the the county meeting starts first. I'm going to get all my motions in before the bylaws committee starts, get my little tape recorder going, and then move over to the bylaws committee. And if I have to give some input, I'm sure somebody on the committee can take the gavel. It might not need to happen. I would just not go to the county meeting tomorrow, but we're passing a bunch of bylaws revisions, and the notice requirements at the county level for revising our bylaws are really crazy because it allows the board to amend them. An idea I'm not crazy about, but we're not that mature of an affiliate yet. The next change I would like to see is to have them only amended at convention. When we first started this affiliate, we weren't sure if we screwed up the bylaws, and we didn't want to be caught in like some kind of existential loop. But now that I know more what I'm doing, I'm comfortable. We're going to get these fixed. We're going to go through one more quarter, make sure we caught everything, and then amend them so that they can only be amended at convention rather than amended by the board. Amended by the board for a more mature organization is a horrible idea. Remember, as I kept saying to Colorado at their convention this past weekend, solid bylaws aren't for good boards. They're for bad ones. Ones that you need to keep your eyeballs on. All right, everyone. I hope you have an awesome night, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
What you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business, not because they want to